I'll tell you what, I certify everything I'm about to tell you is probably true. It's not bad.
Extra $40 for true facts.
That's true. That's right. See,
Well,
I like
I
this.
always like to start my wagon rides off with introductions. So today you are riding with Kirby and Sarge. They are a father and son team. They are Percheron crosses. Together they weigh about 3,800 pounds. And the answer to the next two questions are: number one, a lot. They eat a lot. Number two, a lot. They poop a lot. Like way more than they eat. And I have never figured that out, but guess whose job that is?
Oh, man.
Sure, they get to do the feeding. I got it. Well, no good tour of historic Georgetown should start anywhere but straight ahead on the right at the Hotel Louis Dupuis is injured in a mining accident while rescuing fellow miners. Townsfolk take up a collection for him, and with that money, he builds a little bakery, puts it right in that corner. Turns out Louis a way better baker than he is a miner. Plows the profits back in, builds the beautiful Hotel de Paris you see today. At one time, the best wine, the finest food, between the Mississippi River and San Francisco, right there at the Hotel de Paris. It's now a museum. In association with History Colorado. I highly recommend you go see it, and they don't even pay me to say that.
I don't think that's the one. I think we'll I'm
Straight
sure
ahead
we'll see
also, Public Service of Colorado. That is actually the Georgetown Energy Museum. That is a fully functioning and currently operated hydroelectric power plant. When it came online in 1906, it powered no less than 5 major mountain metropolises, which sounds impressive. So you realize in 1906 there were like 6 light bulbs.
it. Yeah,
in
I
all
was
of
gonna say
those
not
towns.
very much.
Firing up the plasma screen in 1906. Well, come back in time with me now to 1859. George and David Griffith, 2 young Scottish brothers, most recently of Kentucky, took a wrong turn down at the Empire Junction, and they ended up in a beaver flat right about where the I-70 interchange and visitor center is today. Well, they set up a tent for the night and got out their gold pans, because why wouldn't you? And they stuck them in Clear Creek, which flows right through there, and they found some gold. Well, that must have been about all they needed to hear, as those brothers spent the summer here taking gold out of this creek right here, which is Clear Creek. Which must have been an awful lot of money in 1859, because George and David then spent the winter here in a tent. In the spring, no, their little secret got out, and this valley flooded with prospectors taking the gold out of Clear Creek. And a little town built up right over here, and they were calling it George's Town after the elder Griffith brother. So that's where Georgetown came from. Well, about 2 years later, the gold is all panned out of the creek. People start moving away. The town almost disappears. It's down to the population of George and his extended family, and that was it. However, that was 1862. And right up behind us in Argentine Pass, somebody found out that those mountains, as they said, we came searching for gold, but what we found was that the mountains were made out of silver. So that's when the real boom hit, and this town really took off. Now right here on the right, past this great big tree, the lower building, on the right-hand side, ground floor, way in the back. If you look down there, the ground floor windows, it looks like there are bars in those windows. There are. What's going on in these bars? They have unruly children? Possibly. Yes, this was one of the city jails at one time. You probably wouldn't mind sleeping off a misdemeanor there in the summer. However, in the winter, you would most likely want to be law-abiding, because those bars are pretty strong. But they didn't used to put glass in those windows. Now I will tell you a ghost story that involves that jail. 1875. The town butcher is found murdered. His assistant is accused of the crime. They put him in that jail right there to await trial. That night, folks from Georgetown broke into the jail, dragged that young man out down this street to this corner where there used to be a barn, and they strung him up frontier justice style. Cut him down and took him to the morgue. In the morning, the farmer's son came to feed the animals, and there was a young barefoot man hiding in a corner of the barn, but he would not respond to any questioning. So the young man went to get his father to get this person out of their barn. When he arrived, there was nobody there. That night there was a snowstorm in Georgetown. There was a loud knock on the door of the jail. The jailer opens the door. There are barefoot footprints in the snow leading up to the door. No one at the door, no footprints leading away. That night, someone is heard crying for help down by the lake. A search party is mounted. No one is ever discovered. To this day, locals tell me during the first heavy snows of the season, on the wind, you can still hear someone crying for help down by the lake. Ghost story. Well, news of the silver strike gets out. It's the second largest silver strike in U.S. history. People came from all over the world to try to strike it rich. There were flyers in every major European language encouraging people to come here and scoop the silver up off the streets and get rich. A few people did. Not very many. What you'll notice is there's a lot of really small houses in town. There's a couple of them right down the street here. These were the miner shacks. 6 people living around one pot-bellied stove making $1 a day. This town exists because it was a mining supply town. The mining towns were up there. They're ghost towns now. Georgetown survived because it was the mining supply town. This is where the managers and the owners lived. So there's some really nice houses in town. The one I always recommend you go see is the Hamel House.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you get a chance to
Good
see the
place.
Hamel House, you have not lived until you have seen camel hair flocked wallpaper.
Oh my gosh.
But if you do go, just don't tell them I sent you, because they don't like me at the Hamel House.
Where is it?
It's I'll tell you in a
Okay.
minute.
I
But
was
they
hoping we'd pass
yeah, they don't like me down there because they like to call him a colorful Western character, and I call him what he was, which is a big dirty dirtbag. Hey, big dirty dirtbag paid well.
Yeah, the truth hurts sometimes.
Yeah, it's about 3 blocks that way and 2 blocks that way from where
Okay,
we
so
picked you up.
Further down.
So in the middle of the 1870s, there were a lot of people in town, 60,000 people living here, a lot of money and influence. And you can tell because here we have the original public schools dedicated in 1874. What I know about mountain schoolhouses is that they're 1 room, wood, and 1 story. This is a 2-story brick schoolhouse. So that just gives you an idea of A, the money and influence floating around here, and the number of people that lived here. There was a movement to try to change the state capital from Denver to Georgetown at one time.
Oh wow.
I'm kind of glad that didn't go through,
Yeah.
because thered be a lot more people here today.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And it'd be a lot harder to get to the state capital about half the year.
Yeah.
Plus, where would you put the giant airport? The town flourished till about 1893. In 1893, the U.S. government moved from the silver standard for currency to the gold standard. And overnight, silver lost more than half of its value. And it just wasn't even worth it to pull it out of the ground anymore. So the mines started to close and people started to move away. The town started to shrink and it almost disappeared again like it had done in the 1860s. But it was saved by a different kind of gold called skiing. Turns out
Yeah.
Georgetown's about halfway between the ski resorts and Denver. So this became very popular with the après ski crowd. Now I like to say après ski because it makes me sound very sophisticated. What I mean to say is this was a great place to come and get loaded on your way back to town. Now, does anybody know how many movies were filmed in this tiny little town?
75.
3.
Well,
You are very ambitious.
Nice.
Went for it.
I like just throwing it out
1978,
there. That's
Clint
good.
Eastwood came to town, filmed scenes from his movie Every Which Way But Loose, right on the corner where we picked you up. 1998, Ben Affleck was in town, filmed a terrible movie called Phantoms that nobody saw. But in 1986, Colorado's son John
John
Denver
Denver.
came to town
Oh, yeah.
and filmed A Christmas Gift,
Yeah.
in which a widower and his daughter come to Georgetown for business, but instead end up learning the true meaning of Christmas.
Hallmark special.
Pre-Hallmark.
Free Hallmark special.
Now let me see here. Let me add 1, carry 2. Okay, I realize we have returned to town. with the same number of people we left with, which is a new record for us.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
nice.
excited about it.
I think a record
We're
for
going to
Spirit
get
Airlines,
we
too.
are. We're going to get that. We're going to get that safety rating back. You'll see. Okay, seats in the upright position. Tray tables put away.
Oh, how cute.
This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming along. Don't forget to get some chestnuts. It sounds like
That was
smells
awesome.
like they're hot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.